There have been serious problems with the administration of the city.
We're going to have to put up with a lot more jokes about Cleveland.
When the city of Cleveland defaulted in 1978, Ohio Lieutenant Governor George Voinovich was upset at what he saw happening in his hometown.
Cleveland, in effect, was on its back, very close to death. And my feeling was that with the great resources that we had in the Cleveland community, there wasn't any reason why we couldn't come back and be an Ohio asset.
Voinovich made a hard decision. He left state government and came home to tackle the tough job of reforming Cleveland. He ran for mayor and won big. His first step, working with the business community to examine city operations. The Voinovich Commission reported that the debt from the previous administration was worse than originally projected, $111 million. Hard decisions were made. Voinovich asked city unions to delay pay increases. He cut administrative fat and streamlined operations. Fortune magazine reported the Voinovich Task Force recommendations resulted in savings of $200 million. His simple philosophy, together we can do it, brought the mayor and the Democratic Council president together, getting the city back on its feet. And by 1987, they finished the job. At City Hall, Cleveland burned its debt. The city was back in business. Business Month magazine called Cleveland the miracle on the Cuyahoga. 3 times in 5 years, Cleveland won the prestigious All-American City Award. And George Voinovich was named president of the National League of Cities.
People from all over the country are coming to Cleveland to find out how we got it done. And it's real simple. Together, we did it.
I'm the oldest of 6.
I got my values from my religious faith and from my mother and my father and the members of my family.
The Voinovich family came to America, celebrated their strong family ties, and were thankful for the freedoms this country had to offer.
And we were all brought up that we had dues to pay to this country, and that was to give something back to it in terms of volunteerism or in terms of service to the community.
George's sense of duty and leadership abilities became apparent early at Collinwood High School on Cleveland's east side. Then at Ohio University, where George led the student government. And in Columbus at the Ohio State University College of Law. After graduating from law school, George opened a law practice close to home and married his wife, Janet. What George describes as the best decision of his life.
There's a directness about George. There's an intensity there. There's no superficiality. He's a very genuine person. And that stood out to me.
George soon entered public life. He was a quick study of the government process, learning how government works, learning how to make it better. By 1979, George had built an impressive record. Over the years, he was responsible for nearly 90 bills, including the Homestead Law, which gave tax relief to senior citizens. And he helped pass House Bill 920, Ohio's property taxpayer protection law, which saved Ohio citizens billions of tax dollars. Voinovich proved himself a pioneer in environmental affairs. He sponsored legislation and fought to create the Ohio EPA. George's record and strong popularity did not escape the eye of Governor Jim Rhodes. Rhodes asked the then Cuyahoga County Commissioner to join the ticket. In 1978, the Rhodes-Voinovich team captured the State House. George Voinovich had risen to Ohio's second highest elected position. It was Cleveland's fiscal crisis that forced him to make the difficult decision to leave.
My leadership was more needed in Cleveland than it was in Columbus. And that if I got the job done in Cleveland, I perhaps would be doing more for Ohio than staying in as lieutenant governor.
Today, the job that George Voinovich did as mayor lives for the entire nation to see. After 10 years, his work in Cleveland complete, he turned his attention to Ohio's problems.
I, George Victor Voinovich, do solemnly swear.
George Voinovich was elected governor in 1990. His conservative philosophy of fiscal responsibility and efficient government management was again to be put to the test.
God.
Congratulations, Governor.
The state of Ohio faced a $1.5 billion shortfall. Again, it was time to get to work.
Gone are the days when public officials are measured by how much they spend on a problem. The new realities dictate that public officials are now judged on whether they can work harder and smarter and do more with less.
Working harder, working smarter. The Voinovich team put together a plan.
We have really focused in and put together something called Ohio 2000, Ohio First, and have focused on jobs, education, management, quality of life, and everything that I do. I ask myself, what does it have to do with these goals that I've set?
He promised to reinvent government. For some, it's a political phrase. For George Voinovich, it has become a conservative blueprint for others to follow. Since he took office in 1990, he has cut the growth in government spending by 25%, reduced welfare rolls by 147,000 people, saved over $900 million, and eliminated outdated state boards. In 4 years, George Voinovich has saved Ohio taxpayers nearly $4 billion and balanced the state budget. He passed the Ohio Jobs Creation Act. The result, 150,000 new jobs for Ohioans, and Ohio's lowest unemployment rate in 20 years. The governor has attracted over $3 billion to Ohio in new investments, and for 2 years straight has made Ohio the #1 place to do business in the United States. Governor Voinovich has also promoted Ohio and its resources on foreign trade missions, and now Ohio leads the nation in manufacturing exporters. America is taking notice.
Live from the world's financial capital, New York City, this is Moneyline.
Well, business is booming in the Buckeye State, Ohio leading the nation in attracting new manufacturing. The state's second in manufacturing employment, third in exports. And with me tonight, the governor of the state of Ohio, George Voinovich. Good to have you with us.
Nice to be with you.
The governor is receiving national recognition for his handling of fiscal difficulties. But there are other problems that have proven just as challenging.
If I had a magic wand to deal with the problems that I'm confronted with as governor of Ohio, I would reconstitute the family. That's really what's wrong with America today. Values, 10 Commandments, what's right, what's wrong, and those types of things really are the core of a good society.
Good society means taking care of those in need, like children and seniors. Governor Voinovich fought to pass the landmark passport program, supplying seniors critical services so they can live longer in their own homes. And children, his own and others, have always had a special place on a Voinovich agenda.
The #1 thing in our lives between the two of us was bringing our children up. As busy as he's always been, the kids were always #1. And whenever there was a problem, and it remains that way today, they can talk to their dad. We'll drop everything, to work with the kids.
George and Janet had a family of 4. In 1979, their youngest daughter, Molly, was struck and killed by a careless driver while she returned home from school.
When parents lose a child, one of the things that you like to do is to see that the love that you have for her or him goes on. The sun did not shine. It was too wet to play.
Molly's memory lives on with her parents' commitment to children's causes and her father's strong support of family and education.
It's not sunny, but we're going to have lots of fun. That is funny.
My biggest initiative is Children and Family First. We lead the country in the Head Start program. We have 60% of our kids that are eligible for Head Start in the program, and I'm so committed to it because it's a program that demands that a parent or someone that loves a child be involved in the program.
By 1998, there will be a place for every child in a quality preschool program. George Voinovich is preparing Ohio students for the future workplace. He launched SchoolNet, bringing computer technology into every Ohio classroom. He increased classroom funding, but insisted on proven results. Today, proficiency test scores are up. Voinovich's first term was marked by tremendous steps forward. His solutions to Ohio's problems were closely noted across the nation. In 1991, he was elected chairman of the Midwestern Governors Conference. Then in 1992, he was voted the chairman of both the Council of Great Lakes Governors and the Republican Governors Association. In 1994, George Voinovich was returned to office with the largest percentage of the vote in the 20th century.
I've always believed that the problems that we have in community and the challenges really aren't governments, they're the communities. And what we need to do is to galvanize all the resources in the community to solve problems. That government's just one thread in the fabric of a community, and that what we need to do is get everybody involved, and when we do, we can solve any problem.
There are very few as well prepared for public life as George Voinovich. He's a strong leader and a good manager. He knows government, knows how it works, especially in today's complex times. Yet in some ways, he harkens back to another era, a time when political leaders were trained for public service, perfecting their skills not with technique, but with commitment. If you ask him, he'll say he's a simple man. Others describe him as a man driven by character.
There's certain words like honesty and integrity, but if you ask anybody about George Voinovich, those probably are the words that'll come to their mind first, because they're true. Because when George talks about being of service or giving of himself or thinking about your fellow man or making a contribution to society, those aren't just empty words or words that he's heard. That's just part of his philosophy. That's who he is.